Okay, so I know the word failure is extremely, or failing is extremely abrasive and offensive and like harsh, but just hear me out, okay? And I know there are going to be two types of people that watch this video. They're going to be the people that are like, excuse you, who do you think you are? How dare you? Being a mom is hard enough as it is. We don't need you telling us that we're failing. We don't need that extra pressure or that judgment. And all very true. Just hear me out. And then there's the other people on the other side of the camp that are probably, and this is where I probably lean more to as I find myself, what is it? What is the secret sauce? What is the tip? What is the system? What is the curriculum? What is the activity? What is the meal plan? What is the cleaning? Whatever it is. Like, what is it that's going to help me be better in my life or not feel like I'm failing? Because honestly, I'm my worst critic and I constantly find myself feeling this way. And therein lies the problem. And that's what I want to talk to you about. Hi, my name is Cassidy. I am at Mama Belle's home, except for today I'm not home. I'm in my van, as you can tell. And if the noise is wrong or loud or whatever, please bear with me because I'm sitting in my car, like I said, as you can see, because this is a quiet conversation that I need kind of some space to talk to you. And if I'm in the house, I will 100% with 7 kids have some kind of interruption or a question or a noise or a dog barking or whatever it is, and I just want to try to mitigate that. So that's why we're in my van today. Now, back to what I was talking about. I was listening to this podcast. It's by these 2 Christian sisters. Even though you're not Christian, I think that you could still very much benefit from this podcast, and it's called What Have You. Anyways, it's these 2 sisters, and they were talking about, I mean, I would say they're probably more on the large family size, and they're later on in their like mother journey as far as like children. Like, they have children that are in college, that are getting married or married, and then the one sister, she just recently had her 8th baby, and between her 7th and 8th, I think there's 8 years difference, right? And so she's in this new season of having a baby, and she's just talking about how having the baby has kind of like changed things. It like has thrown a wrench in her normal routine and schedule and how she's doing things, and how she's just trying to like roll with it, right? And just laugh and figure out how to do it. And then the other sister was talking about specifically how as you're scrolling, there's just there are people, there are women, there are mothers specifically who are so dogmatic and, you know, I'm paraphrasing, but like hell-bent on their method, their thing that works. And I'm not gonna lie, she was talking about like freezer meals and like meal plans or schedules and all of this, and a part of me was just like, rude. How dare you? How dare you hate on freezer meals and meal plans and stuff like that? Like, those things, that's how I have to live my life. That brings me so much sanity and clarity, and like, I know that it seems kind of like the structure seems kind of like it's holding me back, but in honesty, like, it's giving me so much freedom. Like, what do you have against this? And it's not necessarily that she had anything against it. In all actuality, she had nothing against it. It wasn't the systems or the things that she had a problem with. It was the women or the people behind the things. You get what I'm saying? Where you have these people that are like, if you don't eat this diet, you're going to get cancer and die. If your kids aren't using this curriculum or having these activities, they're going to be like super behind. If you aren't having 4,000 hours of outside time with your kids, like, you're failing. If you are not meal planning, if you don't have a cleaning schedule, if you don't use a notebook, if you don't have a planner, if you don't have XYZ, you are falling short, you are failing, you're not good enough. And I think that they are 100% right. Like, she was 100% right, because I think that we as women, as moms specifically, that I have noticed, I put so much hope and faith into that system, into the routine, I'm missing the mark. I'm missing the mark. And I think that is where we as moms are failing. We sit here and we think, yes, this thing is going to solve all my problems. If I just incorporate this, it's gonna take all away my problems. And then when we see that, ooh, this is working, this is good, we get really passionate about it. And that's where we're like, listen, you need to meal plan. You have to do this because it's gonna be so good for you. Because we've had that experience. And the case, that's not always the case. What may work for us isn't always going to work for other people. There's a good chance, it is really likely, that it's actually not going to work for them, that it's not their cup of tea, that it would make it harder for them. But we don't see that. We just see, this has been so good for us, surely it has to be good for them. And then we sit here and we want to push and push and push, and we're like a fire hose. And that's not going to help anybody. And I sit here and I think about, yeah, I have 7 kids and I've learned to meal plan, and I have learned this is what works for me. This is what brings sanity and clarity and freedom and saves me money. But that doesn't mean that it's going to work for everybody. And honestly, I've learned how to do this. This is not how I started out 16 years ago as a mom. I had to learn how to do this. And I've learned what works for me. And if you want to know how to meal plan, girl, I am here for you. I will give you all the tips and the tricks. I'm here for it. However, I'm not going to sit here and just pressure you and push you into it. If you are in a place, and this is where I'm thinking, as a new mom especially, as a mom who's just having a child, or even second and third, oh my gosh, having my third, that was rough. I think my hardest transition in motherhood, adding kids, was the third. And my third baby was a peach. She was a dream. She was so easy and so sweet and so just she was precious. She still is precious. But it wasn't that she was a hard baby. It was just a hard transition. My husband, I had her, and then a couple weeks later, my husband left on a deployment. It was a rough time in my life. And I sit there and I think about that mom who was sitting there crying because we're having cereal for the second night this week. Or I've had to go to the drive-thru again to feed my children. Or here we are eating mac and cheese and nuggies again because that's all I can do. And thinking that I am failing and I'm falling short and my children are not, they deserve better. And it's dude, okay, let's be honest here. What's the most important thing? That your child is fed or what they're fed? There are times and seasons in our life, there are things that are going on where it's you know what? Yeah, we ate cereal for dinner, but what? My kids weren't complaining about having cereal. They thought it was the best thing ever. And it's the summer. There were times where we had ice cream sundaes and smoothies and stuff for dinner, and it's should that be all the time? Absolutely not. Is it the healthiest thing to eat? Surely it isn't. But my babies' bellies were fed and we were happy, and I was making a choice of drive-thru or cereal or playing outside all day instead of being a hectic, strangling, angry, yelling mom. I made the conscious decision, and I wish I would have celebrated that. I wish I would have sat there and thought, yeah, we went through the drive-thru, but girl, we're having fun. And I'm not sitting here saying that you don't need structure, or it's okay to eat fast food all the time, or you shouldn't have goals and standards for your family, right? Like, I'm not sitting here saying that you shouldn't eat organic and you should just do whatever the heck you want. I'm not advocating for just recklessness and just foolishness and unhealthy decisions. I'm not making the case for that. What I am making the case for is, however, I think that we need to stop being so concerned with making the mark, hitting the mark, making sure that this is cleaned all the time, or this is got to be organized, or we have to have these types of meals, or whatever. And then you're this crazy person who is anxious and depressed and sad or angry and yelling all the time because it's not worth it. I think that we need to be able to sit in a hard season and not try to just like run away from it, because I think that in that season there's so much that you can learn and grow from. And if you're in that mindset of like, this is hard and this sucks and that's okay, like how can we make the most of this? Right? Like, there have been times in my life, like I grew up in a very clean, very strict, organized house. We didn't have a whole lot, so it wasn't too hard. And we were out of the house most of the time. Like, we were in public school. My mom worked and she was a single mom, so it's not like there was a lot of mess going on. However, it was a very chaotic home. And I didn't know how to meal plan. It's something that I had to learn how to do when I first started 16 years ago. Like, as a mom, I was just like, you know, and then as you add kids and you know, I got married, had kids, deployments, whatever, what have you, like all the things, like you have to learn and adjust. And I think that there is beauty in those hard seasons, and that sounds so crazy to say, and I can't even believe it's coming out of my mouth, because if you stick around here, or if this isn't your first encounter with me, or you're a friend or family member, then you will learn, like, this is crazy. And I sit there and I think about my mother-in-law, because she's one of my hugest fans. Honestly, like, I think that she's just, I lost my mom, and so it's been incredible having her. And she can remember, like, I knew her before I even knew my husband or knew of him. So we've known each other for a long time. And she knew me before I was a mom. She knew me when I became a mom, and she's seen me in all kinds of phases of my life where there was really bad boyfriends, deployments, babies, moves, all kinds of stuff. And she reminds me of, like, Cassidy, you have come so far, because I remember there was a season in my life I was a very dramatic girl. I will admit this. And I would get so worked up. And I'd, like, the tiniest little thing could set me off. And now I'm sitting here and I laugh with my girlfriends about my toddler's trying to kill me. And it's not like he's actually trying to kill me, but he's trying to give me a heart attack or, like, stress, like panic. I don't know. I have 2 toddlers currently. One is 3, one is 2, and my son is a different, I have not had a child like him. He knows how to get out of the house. I have to keep eyes on him all the time because he is constantly into stuff, trying to escape, get in my husband's truck. Like, that is his favorite thing. Like, if he could get out of the gate and get into my husband's truck, he would probably try to drive it off. Like, okay, like, my hands are full with this boy, and I adore him. And I can sit back and think like, oh my gosh, if my 6th son would have been my 2nd son, God help us all. Who knows? I'd have been stressed out. But I sit there and I think about too, I was stressed out. And my 2nd son was just a gift. And I was still stressed out. I was still worried about, like I told you, I had a single mom. I grew up with sisters. I was like, how am I going to teach him how to go to the bathroom in the toilet? How am I supposed to potty train a boy? How am I supposed to, how am I supposed to potty train a little boy? I don't know. My husband's gone all the time. He's like training or deployed or whatever. Like, what am I supposed to do? This is you know, and just like freaking out instead of being like, okay, you know what? One time somebody told me put some Cheerios in there and tell him to aim and pee. Like, my sister potty trained my nephew by letting him pee on stuff outside. And like, I know, like, we lived in the country. It's a different thing. But in those hard seasons, I learned so much that has blessed me now. And I'm specifically thinking of, okay, number 3, I told you she's precious little gift, okay? And she had breathing issues because my husband is asthmatic. And the doctors assumed that she was like pre-asthmatic, but because she was so young, they couldn't diagnose it. And because they couldn't diagnose it, there wasn't a lot they could do. So we had to go in a few different times for her to be hospitalized, get her breathing treatments and steroids and all of those things to help support her. And you guys, like, that was some of the hardest experiences that I've had as a mom. Like, watching your baby hooked up to a bunch of machines and struggling to just breathe and live is like really hard. And my youngest son, the one I told you, the 2-year-old who's trying to he's keeping me on my toes. He's like, I'm gonna help God sanctify you, Mom. A little sanctifying tool. Gosh, I love him though. Just recently, a few days ago, we had to take him into the hospital because whatever virus that he has, it was like in the vocal cords, so it was like really raspy. He had like croupy cough, and he was just struggling to breathe, like the, you know, where it's like the caving in, like the chest, right? He was just like working hard. And I knew because of that past season, that really hard, I would never wish it on anybody, don't want to go back there season. In that season, I learned, hey, he doesn't have a fever yet. He's working really hard though. His breath, he's caving in. I know his oxygen levels are low. I know I need help, and we need to take him in. He has to go in. And so I was able to, and it was not to say like I was completely calm, because I wasn't. Inside I was like, oh my gosh, my baby, like, please Lord, don't let anything happen to him. Like, let us get help, let him be okay. Like, I was freaked out, but I was much more calm, and I knew the chances of him being okay are more likely than him not being okay. So we took him in, and they were just like, this is what we need to do, and this and blah. Are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I know how to do these things. I know what the breathing treatment's like. I know he's not gonna like it. I get it. And we're just gonna, yep, okay. And I was just so much more calm, because I had already walked through that hard season, because I've already experienced it. I was able to use what had already been sown to benefit my son. And last night I'm in the shower and I'm thinking of all of these things and have all of this stuff to say that I want to include in this, and I really want to encourage moms, and I really want to push back on, I'm sorry, these cars, guys. This is like a quiet side road to park the car and be out of the way and all of the things, and it's just not. And I had all these things that I wanted to say, and I wanted to write a script, but there was like, how do you go about this? How do you say these things? Like, it's just not, I just don't I don't know. And I'm just gonna kind of say it. So if this feels like sporadic and stuff, I'm sorry. And I don't want you to think that you're feeling. That is the complete opposite of what I'm trying to do. And I don't want to sit here and say that the systems are bad or aren't helpful, because that's not true. I totally believe in them, and they help me a lot. Especially as an ADHD mom, like I need to have that structure, and I need to have, like, I need help. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna get this wrong. I need help getting what's in my head out on paper and like making it orderly. And I found that it's much more helpful if I do, and like when the kids can see, like they can hold, there's help, there's accountability when this is what the meal plan is. And I'm not going to get into all that, because like that's not what I want this to be about. So if you have systems that work, please hear me. Like, that is good. If it works for you, absolutely do it. And if people, or like if you love it and you think it's great and you want to share it. But don't sit there and judge people for not doing it. Don't sit there and be harsh on people that aren't living the same lifestyle. And and this is more than anything, I want you to hear me on this one thing. Don't sit here and think that you are failing because you didn't follow through with whatever system it is. What you didn't meet the mark. You missed a day. You didn't clean the thing that you said you were going to clean. You didn't get to the whatever it was that you intended to get to. That does not mean you are failing. It doesn't mean that you are a crappy mom or that any of those things. It doesn't mean any of that. All it means is that you now have something to move from your to-do list today to tomorrow. But what is important, and where I implore you to challenge yourself, choose joy, choose laughter, because if you do not laugh, you will probably cry. And roll with the punches. Especially if you're like adding a new baby to your house, or there is loss, or there is a health thing, or whatever it is. Like, just roll with it. What is the best decision that you can make in this moment to be a joyful, loving mom, instead of a mom who is stifling and crushing and strangling? And I don't mean that you're actually like strangling, but you get what I'm saying, where you're just like, you're holding on so tight to the system or the thing, and the house just has to stay clean, and the kids aren't able to play with the toys that they have because the house has to stay clean, and we have to make the food even though we're eating at 9 p.m. because this is the thing that I said we're gonna make, and it doesn't matter what's going on, like we have to eat this thing, and if we don't, then I'm failing, right? And you're just like so clinging on to the thing that you're making your family suffer or deal with an angry, cranky mom. Because the honest answer is like, life is not Instagram. Life is not Pinterest. Just because you get a glimpse of what somebody else's life looked like, it just does not mean that is what is actually going on. And just because they recommend a system does not mean that they stick to it every single day, all the time, in every season. And just because that's how they normally do things, and that is the standard, doesn't mean that they don't always hit it. Does that make sense? I hope, and I'm praying, that this video is an encouragement and it doesn't just like make people angry. And I hope that you hear it with the love and encouragement that I'm actually trying to convey, and that you don't have you don't find offense and hurt in it, because that's not what I'm trying to do. I promise you. So if you're a new mom who is just having their first baby, or maybe you're about to have your first baby, or maybe you're adding number 3, 4, 5, I don't even care, 7, 8, 10. We're all susceptible to this, okay? Choose love, choose joy, and you're gonna crush it, okay? Like, this is what you were created to do. You are created to bring forth life, to nurture, to love, and to raise this person. And I am praying for you. I'm praying for me, praying for us, that we will just choose the next right thing. Because there are going to be seasons where, yes, you can make all the fermented fruits and the sourdough and sew your own clothing and have chickens and homeschool and do all of the things. There are going to be seasons where you are just crushing it and you feel really good and you feel like you're at the high of the highest highs. And then there's going to be something that happens, like having a baby or a health situation or loss, or a move, or deployment, or whatever it is, job change, and you're gonna be like, what the heck? I had it all together. I was doing so great. Look what I was doing. Look where I was at. Girl, yes, celebrate. That was great. And now, how are you gonna crush it at this spot? Maybe you're not making all your foods from scratch, and you don't have a freezer meal stock, and your dinner consists of a bunch of canned items going in an Instant Pot. But how can you make that the best it can be? How can you make cereal for dinner just the best cereal for dinner ever? How can you just be a blessing and a joy to your family in that season? And celebrate the wins, y'all. I feel like I'm so hard on myself. If I don't achieve the to-do list or whatever, and there's something left over, I'm just like, oh, you know, I just didn't get this thing. And my husband's like, what the heck are you talking about? You did so much today. I'm so proud of you. You did so good. And you're just, and to me, it's like, but I didn't do everything. I didn't do everything. I didn't do this thing. And I had to switch dinners to the Instant Pot instead of, you know, baking it in the oven or whatever. And he's just like, it's so funny because he's literally like mystified. He's like, I don't understand why you're this way. And it's true. Why are we this way? So what can you do today? In this season of your life, what can you do today to be a joy and a blessing to your family? Let me know down in the comments. If this video was at all encouraging or helpful, or you'd like to hear more about my mom rants, please like this video, subscribe, stick around for more, and y'all, I will see you guys in the next video.